One, ready. We're ready to go now, see. Okay, here we go.
Shalom, shalom, family. Good to be on again with the family. Always concerned about the objectives and things that we face and how we're going to deal with them. So every time myself, Eitai come on and try to say anything to us, it's only to aid us in understanding the task before us and how we're going to tackle it, how we're going to be successful. You know, the blueprint has already been laid out. If we follow it, we will have no doubt of being successful. With that said, I want to kind of pick up from yesterday uh, and give some insight, hopefully, and a better understanding of the cycle of time that we're in called the age of light. The age of light. I titled it The Support of the Concept of the Age of Light. And I created an idea that when you allow me to go through this step by step, it'll become clear as to what I'm talking about and how I was set in motion. I call this a reverse ritual has been played on all humanity, inclusive of all Israelites, with what is called the inversion process. Reverse ritual called the inversion process. This is done through scientific social engineering as to how inverted energy of the human family is accomplished. This age of light, very, very significant here. When we read in the book of Peter, and also in Psalms, the 94th chapter, verse 4, 2 Peter 3 and 8, we find it says, Beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing. There's one thing that the narrative is saying that we should not be ignorant of. And that is, one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. So this solidified, verified, and even magnified what was shared with us about these concepts of Yom. And we see Yom as a 7-day week. But we just read where it says one day is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. So if we see 7 days, we're already talking about 7,000 years, you know, if you're looking at it from a prophetic point of view. So this is very significant because it kind of gives us a time cycle in terms of what we're looking at as this crazy process, you know, that we are distinguishing from the emanation process. So nevertheless, as we continue on, to support the idea of the dominion in existence, the one that exists now is the age of light. That is the dominion of the age of light, or the dominion of light, and not that of darkness. When looking at the word Renaissance, we see it's a noun, etymology of Middle French, meaning to be born again. Now we all know that in our religious bringing, and our religious teaching, it was all about being born again, getting what they call a new mind, a new relationship with the Creator, so forth and so on. It goes on to say, more at nation. Well, what nation is it talking about? It can't be talking about, us. If we emanated, we then have to go back and look at the beginning of what is being revealed to us about the simulated reality. This is the beginning of the simulated reality. And this encompasses this whole slavery time, as we call it, captivity. It all begins to make sense all of a sudden. Continuing on. In other words, they write themselves into history and write us out through the power to define.
That's correct.
We're talking about 1845 Common Era in respect to the definition of Renaissance. We find the word Renaissance meaning the transitional movement in Europe between medieval and modern times, beginning in the 14th century. So now, if we begin in the 14th century and we didn't go into captivity until 1619, we can see 1619, and you're talking about 400 years, you add to that, you can kind of come up to where we are today.
Correct.
So 14th century in Italy and lasting into the 17th century and marked by humanistic, keyword, humanistic revival. Okay, we got a mic open. Going back again.
Yeah, go over that again, please, Nancy.
Okay, the transitional movement in Europe between medieval and modern times, beginning in the 14th century in Italy, lasting into the 17th century, and marked by humanistic revival of classical influence expressed in a flourishing of arts and literature, and by the beginning of modern science. Here in the age of light, now we can understand why they call it the age of reason, the age of enlightenment. Because now we can understand. But who was being enlightened? It had nothing to do with, now, and this is very important because this is the reverse ritual that was played through the inversion process. We have been calling ourselves the sons of light.
Right.
And we got to stop and consider now, if it's the age of enlightenment, how could the people that's enlightened be in such darkness?
Right.
How could they be in such darkness? How could they be what? Always under the dominion of the people of what? Darkness, but they have light. Something is wrong with that.
That's right.
That's the reverse ritual. Hear me out. Continuing on. He said, this is called the Age of Enlightenment, 1669. And I said we went into captivity, according to the time cycle of 1619, Jamestown, Virginia. The act, the means of enlightening, the state of being enlightened, to a philosophical movement of the 18th century marked by a rejection of traditional social religious and political ideas, and an emphasis on rationalism, emphasis on dualism, rationalism,
That can't be light.
a rationalistic way of viewing that cannot be light, can
Cannot be
it?
light.
Continuing on. Now, in this age of enlightenment, this was also used during the cycle of time called the Age of Reason. And this was 1650. And it goes there, the time of life when one begins to be able to distinguish right from wrong. What is the foundation that we've been talking about? Right and wrong, good and evil, up and down, God and Satan. We see the principle of the simulated reality. We see it playing out all the way through. This is a testimony that this is a simulated reality. Continuing on. 2, a period characterized by a prevailing belief. Now we understand why faith and belief was so important during that period of time. A prevailing time of belief in the use of reason. In the use of reason. Everybody believes in reason. And if you don't reason according to the laws governing that social, political cycle of time, you will be considered ignorant.
That's right.
And these were the classical times of what we call today time of the Gentiles, of the aberrant man. This is when he, you understand, began to reach into the heights of what we are influenced by today, rationalism, duality, and it's got us at odds with one another, believing that we the sons of light and they the sons of darkness.
Correct.
And this takes me back to our quote yesterday that Abba Godot stated. And just, and you got to listen carefully now so that you can what? Put this in perspective, what I'm showing you. Quote, he said, when we go back to Abba Ben-Ami's statement in the whole day, as he stated that there are 2 versions of our historical past. Now, this is key because if you got the wrong version of the historical past, you are now under the influence of deception without knowing it. And it not only does deception, what it does, it brings you into something called, we're going to introduce later, called cognitive dissonance.
That's correct.
It's going to bring you into what you feel that, oh, you're concerned about somebody causing you to become calm, but you're already cognitive dissonance. Already cognitive dissonance. And we're gonna explore this. Continuing on. Now, this historical past is supposed to be the lie and the truth. Subsequently, 2 destinies resulting from the application of the lie and the destiny resulting from the application of truth. Well, the age of enlightenment or the age of light is not the destiny or the age of truth. It's that cycle of time where you and I is under the influence of duality. We cannot discern right from wrong, up from down, good from it. We don't know what's going on. That was that cycle of time where in Genesis it says that and sin shall what? You shall rule over sin. So now we see that all the things that we have what? Felt that we have done against the Creator, and that is what caused us to lose our relationship with Him. We now see that that was all wrong. It was all wrong. Continue now. We say that those 2 forces in the end game, now here we are in the end game, in the last days of the dominion of darkness. Now, this is your key point here. It's not the dominion of darkness. It's the dominion of light. It's the dominion of light. This is the reverse ritual.
That's correct, Nasi.
This is what done happen. We got to what? Reevaluate this. We got, if you're going to say that the sons of darkness, how are the sons of darkness a complete different color if you want to go to the black and white?
That's right.
Why? If we're going to, these colors, it has to have some significance. Why was it always on your wall a what? Another color of a God on the wall. Always another color. It was never you.
That's right. Never melanated people.
You was under the never. You was under the dominion of what? Light, causing yourself in darkness. You was under the influence of light, not darkness. This is something that we really got to work, consider. Continuing on. He said, these two forces in the end game, in the last days of the dominion of darkness, now we know it's the dominion of light, are the sons of light and the sons of darkness. But it's the sons of light. This is their rule. They are engaged in spiritual and mental warfare. They got us thinking that this is all a spiritual war, and they're using physical war against us, and we got no power under the influence of light to fight back.
That's correct.
Now you can see why these classes is so significant, because we got to get back to understanding who we are so we can activate our power and demonstrate the power of, you understand, that which was what given unto us.
Dark matter and dark energy.
There you go. Dark matter, dark energy.
Dark matter and dark energy. Right.
Absolutely. The sons of light. Now this is what was said. The sons of light have been chosen at this time to reactivate the neuroactive activity of truth in the brain, cognitive skill. Now, bless our hearts and bless the hearts of all of those that what has gone before us. But it says the aberrant man deceives the whole world. But I like to say it wasn't the aberrant man that deceived the whole. We as a people deceived ourselves in believing in a falsehood that we had lost knowledge of, emanating into the simulated reality.
That's correct.
Continuing on. And we're gonna see how all of this works. It says, this is what creates, meaning this cognitive skills under the neural activity of the sons of light. This is what creates what is called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance means psychological conflict resulting from incongruous beliefs and attitudes held simultaneously. Now, this clearly makes it clear to me why we have conflict with one another. Because there's conflict going on within ourselves. We are cognitive dissonant and what? For some reason, cannot acknowledge it. Cannot acknowledge it. That this cognitive dissonance causes incongruous beliefs and attitudes held simultaneously. This is what I call the reverse ritual, which is done through scientific social engineering. So this ritual was played, and to give you an example, couple examples. 1945, there was supposedly an event took place in Philadelphia which, you know, it was a major incident that took place with the United States Army, and they call it the Philadelphia Experiment. And there's a couple of movies out about that.
Right.
If you watch it, you want to go back to the oldest one, not the newest one. But it all had to do with a time cycle being reversed on people.
That's right.
And they thought they were living at one time, but they were living another, and they couldn't synchronize or couldn't figure out which time cycle really was the truth. And they got another concept of the same idea of what they call the Mandela effect.
There you go.
When Mandela supposedly was in jail, some people thought he died in jail, and others say so. It's a reverse of time cycle, and so now, and you look throughout the scriptures, you see certain words that has undergone a change, you know, purposely, you know, because if you look, it used to say the lamb will lay down
with the lion.
With the lion. Now it says the wolf. It says the wolf. Now how's the lion gonna lay down with the wolf? But you see again the shifting of these reverse cycles on us, and this is time cycle, prophetic time. That's what it was aimed at, causing the prophetic time cycle to be disrupted. And if you disrupt the prophetic time cycle, you have no measuring rod, no roadmap to go by. That's what this was all about.
Now, see, this is a simulated reality, so it can be manipulated.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. It can be manipulated, and we're seeing evidence of that. Time is an illusion.
Absolutely, absolutely. Excellent point. Now, with this manipulation of reality and time, we come to a prophetic reference of the concept of the war in heaven. Now, this war in heaven says Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. Well, we know the dragon is the serpent. Now, if you keep saying that Michael is fighting against the dragon, and the dragon is the serpent, and the serpent is what? The dark energy, and it's a positive energy. You see what then happened? You're actually fighting against yourself and don't even know it. And the dragon fought and his angels. Verse 8, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, their old serpent, called the devil, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels was cast out with him. Now, if the dragon is cast out in the earth, and the dragon is supposed to be the average man, how is the time of light being the dominant dominion and he's in control? Think about it. Verse 10, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. We accuse one another day and night because of what? This simulated reality that has been manipulated, and we being a part of it, are being manipulated to fight against ourselves, thinking that we are going to be successful in this warfare. We got to stop and really reevaluate. And we're going to close with this point. And now, so we can see how, you know, significant it is to really have the truth about this history. Which history are we following? And who's at the forefront of the history? Who's at the forefront teaching this knowledge within this historical time? Very, very significant. And I'm going to title this called The Familiar Friend of Betrayal Was Not an Enemy. The familiar friend of betrayal was not an enemy. And we pick this up in the book of Psalms, 55 Psalms. Psalms 55. And I'm going to read 6 of the verses, and then we'll close it out. We're going to pick up in the second verse. Psalms 55. He says, unto me, attend unto me, and hear me. And I'll make a noise. 3. Because of the voice of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked, for they cast iniquity upon me, and in wrath they hate me. Now we understand the simulated reality, but here we got to understand that this enemy is not an external enemy. The enemy is an internal enemy. First and foremost, then there must be an external enemy. Okay? So we continue on in the next verse. It says, my heart is sore pain within me, and the terror of death are fallen upon me. Verse 5. Fearfulness and trembling are come upon me, and horror has overwhelmed me. Verse 6. And I said, oh, that I had wings like a dove, for then would I fly away and be at rest. Always seeking rest, but seeking incorrectly. And we're Eitai going to touch up on that about the rest that we have not entered into. Seeking rest. Verse 7. So lo, then would I wander far off and remain in the wilderness. Selah. Verse 8. I would hasten my escape from the windy storm and tempest. Verse 9. Destroy, O Lord, divide their tongue, for I have seen violence and strife in the city. 10. Day and night they go about it upon the walls thereof. Mischief also and sorrow in the midst of it. Wickedness is in the midst thereof. Deceit and guile depart not from her streets. Deceit and guile departs not from her streets. Deceit and guile depart not from you and I.
That's right.
For it was not, now here's the verse. Verse 12 gives you the key. For it was not an enemy that reproached me. It was not an enemy that reproached me. He said, then I could have borne it. Neither was he that hated me, that did magnify himself against me. Then would I have hid myself from him. Now listen to the next verse. But it was thou, a man, my equal. Who's equal? Your equal. My God and my acquaintance. Who is guiding you? Who is your acquaintance other than you? We took sweet counsel together, and we walked unto the house of God in company. We let death seize upon them and let them go down quick into hell, for wickedness is in their dwellings and among them. As for me, I will call upon God, and the Lord shall save me. Even in morning and at noon will I pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice. He has delivered my soul in peace from the battle that was against me. For there were many with me. God shall hear and afflict them, even he that abideth of old, Selah, because they have no changes. Therefore they fear not God. He has put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him. He has broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter,
Uh-huh.
but water. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. So when we consider, and naturally, in the simulated reality, looking external, believing in the enemy being external as opposed to the enemy being internal, then we see that the words that we what speak unto ourselves by ourselves, and it's just like it said, smooth as butter. But the same words, what did the scripture say? With the tongue you bless and you curse. So you are what? Instead of blessing ourselves, we've been cursing ourselves. And we gotta now begin to what? Consider who is the real enemy? What is the real true history? And at this particular time, I think we have come to the point where we are now sorting out who the real enemy is. You know, what is the real true history? It's the reverse ritual that's been played on us that now we understand. So that, I close this portion, Selah.
I'm sorry. We examined yesterday this prophetic framework, and specifically we examined this verse in the Genesis, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, upon the face of the water. And the Spirit of God, we saw, did not move, did not begin with fire. It bypassed the first
Right,
step of emanation and impacted the waters. It moved upon the waters deliberately for the purpose of what? Creating a simulated reality so that we could
right,
experience, listen, so that we could experience the full range of separation in the material world. Now remember, the Akashic record, Nasi, had to do with
uh-huh,
the Akashic record has to do with everything. It's a recording of everything,
right,
every thought, every intent, every experience, every emotion. And so, in order for the Akashic record to be complete, we had to experience what? Total separation from ourselves. Divinity had to experience total separation from itself. So this began the cycles that are ending in this current period. All right, we're bringing this cycle of what? Separation, alienation to an end. And we are returning to wholeness. Water, the first time, created the simulated reality of separation and duality. Fire the next time, right? Beginning at the first step and completing it, then returning what? Back to wholeness.
right.
That is the general, a broad brushstroke of what? The prophetic sequence and framework. Now, if you get that and you can accept that, then everything else makes sense. But if you consider or continue to consider the order that has been put in place by what? The Spirit of God moving upon the waters, you will continue to be what? Under deception and under the dominion of what is called light or the
Right.
simulated reality.
Right.
So this is what we established yesterday. And we stated that we had to go back in the allegory or in the narrative. We don't go back far enough, and we don't, I see, we don't really consider what it is that we're hearing. So when we look at these types that the allegorical characters represented, we must understand that we are looking at not necessarily historic figures. That was
Right.
called a Moses, that was called a Noah, that was called a Yeshua, etc., and so on.
Right.
That we were looking at, we must look at this thing from the standpoint of energy, dark matter and dark energy, because that's what it emanated. That's what emanated into what? The material world. That's what the material world is made up of.
Right.
So we went back and we're going to establish a framework with the eldest son of Noah that they refer to as Shem, because this is very important. And you'll just have to follow me very carefully throughout the narrative and understand why. This refers to Shem, refers to, first of all, the name Yahuwah. All right? The name. And we already
Yeah.
looked at the name corresponding to what? The correct or complete process of emanation. Shem is going to be a starting point, family, of correctly tracing our roots individually. Correctly tracing our roots. Because if we look at Noah, his family was preserved in what? Noah's family was preserved, according to the biblical narrative, in what?
Flood.
We all know this story. Noah's what?
Flood.
Ah, the
Noah's
ark.
Ark.
His family
They
was,
were in ark.
okay. His family was preserved in an ark. I'm making this connection for you. The ark was to protect them from what?
Water.
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 Now, this brings us back to the Spirit moved upon the water. And we know that the water created what? Impacting the water created what? The simulated reality. So from the very beginning,
Yeah.
the idea was to what? Preserve us from that idea, from that concept that,
Eitai, you have it.
go ahead. Go ahead,
No,
Nasir.
I was saying we're having a little problem with. No, you're having a problem hearing you. It's breaking up for some reason
Okay.
when you speak.
All right. I think we just have a bad connection today.
Okay.
So I'll just speak a little bit more slowly and a little bit more deliberately. So this idea of preserving Shem, Ham, Japheth, and Noah within this ark, I'm giving you symbols that are going to help us understand what this is. Now, Shem, being the firstborn, represents the sun, S-O-N and S-U-N. This is an element of fire, all right?
Right.
And the word for sun is Shemesh. So again, talking about energetic principles and how these principles are manifested in the material world. We have to understand energy and not focus on peoples so much. If we
Yeah.
focus on the people, then we might miss the energy. But if we focus on the energy, ain't no way we gonna misidentify the people
Right. Right.
because we'll understand how this energy operates when we see it manifested in ourselves, when we see it manifested in others, then we can trace our true history. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So this is the idea of Noah's Ark. All right, we're going to trace this history of the ark, both the Ark of the Covenant and these individuals associated with the ark. And it's going to give us a description of the energy. And then again, once we have a full understanding and a description of the energy, now see how it moves, what it does, what its characteristics are, then we will be able to again identify ourselves and others being in possession of that energy, and we can track the movement correctly, accurately of people within this earth realm. That will lead us to our true history.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Shem, being the eldest son, that energy is always first and it always leads the way. Speaking of the son, in those Jeremiah 50 and 4 through 8, this is just a review now of what we went over yesterday. In those days and at that time, saith the Lord, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together. Going and weeping, they shall go and seek the Lord their God. They shall ask the way to Zion. Now, why would they have to ask
The wait is in.
the way to Zion? If it's a foregone conclusion, listen, family, if it's a foregone conclusion that Zion is in the east and in Israel, why would they have to ask? They shall ask the way to Zion. The reason that they're asking is because it was hidden, what? In darkness. It was concealed. And a replacement was given in what? the dominion of light. Follow me now. With their faces thitherward, with their faces facing that way, saying, come, let us join ourselves to Yahweh in a what? Perpetual covenant that shall not be broken. The people have been lost sheep. Under the dominion of light, their shepherds have caused them to go astray. Would only make sense. We were all under that deceptive dominion. They have turned away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place, the resting place of Shemitic people, Shemites, associated with the sun, S-O-N, and the sun, S-U-N. They indeed, the sun, S-O-N, S-U-N, indeed rises in the east, but what? Sets or rests in the west. During the dominion of light, everything has been reversed. All that found them have devoured them. Now, see, referred to, how we were just at the mercy and continue to be at the mercy of our adversaries. Why? Because we're powerless. We are attempting to derive energy and identity and history from light during the what? Dominion of light. But our purpose should be to derive our energy from darkness, because we are the children of darkness. Darkness is first. Shem is the firstborn. Are you all with me? This is where our identity lies. Moving forward. And their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against the Lord. The habitation of justice, even the Lord, the hope of their fathers. Remove out of the midst of what? Babylon. This is going to be very important, because we're going to talk about Babylon and what it represented, just like the European influence, what Nasi talked about in the Renaissance. Babylon represents that in the scriptures. So we have to remove ourselves from the framework of Babylon, out of the land of the Chaldean, and what? Be as he-goats before the flock. Why? Because Shem is always first and always leads the way. The same way as darkness is always first and always leads the way. Keep that in the forefront of your mind as we go forward. It's going to sound like and appear like we're talking about different things, but I'll be careful to keep us locked into the framework. Darkness precedes what? Light. It is always first. It always leads the way. The same way as Shem, the firstborn son, S-O-N and S-U-N, always is first and always leads the way. It is mentioned that we should be as what? The he-goats before the flocks. another key symbol, and we're going to transition to the symbol of the goat. Why do goats go out to pasture first and only afterward sheep? It is like the creation of the world, keeping the consistency of the framework. First was darkness and then came light. So then the goats would represent darkness, and Shem, that which always goes first, which always leads the way, and the sheep would represent light, or the sons of light. The goats would represent what? The sons of darkness. Simple comparison, simple syncretism, simple relationship. So it's not getting complex. We're going to lead you through very carefully. Rashi explains goats are usually what? Black, not white. This is what Nasi told us. So this is talking about, again, melanin, and in specific, eumelanin, which gives us the color black, which is the what? Dominant trait. Sheep, of course, are white, which represents what? The absence of melanin, or the recessive traits, the absence of melanin and its power. See, they had us thinking that we were sheep, sons of light, under what? The dominion of deception. That's why we didn't have any power. That's why, like sheep, we were always being what? Devoured. We were always being what? Led astray. We were always being what? In a state of loss and confusion. Y'all got to see this. Thus, the goats, which push ahead to be first, like Shem, like darkness, symbolize the primal darkness. And from an energetic standpoint, the reason why we are weak and not knowledgeable and are still in a state of loss, a lost state, and a state of confusion and powerlessness is because we were attempting to tap into and connect to the wrong energy, which was light. We must connect into the darkness, which is what? These primal energies, elemental energies, from which we what? Emanated from. Does it make sense, family?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to know before we moved on. The goats, which push ahead to be first, symbolize the primal darkness. That's dark matter and dark energy from which we emanated from, and which to which we are returning. Again, the goats, which push ahead to be first, symbolize the primal darkness, or dark matter, dark energy, from which we emanated into the material realms. But we did not emanate complete. Why? Because we wanted to experience, we needed to experience separation. So we did not emanate through the complete process. We skipped deliberately. We got to mute our microphones, please. We skipped the first step, the elemental step in the process, deliberately to what? Move upon the face of the water, move upon the face of the deep. And that created the simulated reality. The goats push ahead first, and the sheep which follow are the light which follows darkness. So you have to determine for yourself, are you the darkness that is first and that was first, or are you the light that follows darkness? You have to determine that for yourself. The goat, which represents Yavan or Greece, also echoes the darkness, the concealment, which is so fundamental to Yavan's outlook. It is the reign of darkness that always comes first. That is our true history. Even in the simulated reality, we are first on this planet. First, we are always first. We were the first to create these great civilizations like Wakanda represented. In fact, Wakanda was a compendium of the many great civilizations, Sumer, Babylon, in the Indus Valley, and Kemet. It was a compilation, a compendium of all of those high civilizations. So during these cycles of time within the simulated reality, we have reigned on the earth. We again were the kings and the queens and the gods of this realm, upon which all other heroic tales like Black Panther, like Django Unchained, like Unbreakable, like Superman, etc., are all based upon. At the time of the creation of the world, there was first darkness, again, over the face of the deep. Staying with the goat symbolism, because we're going to have to become familiar with our symbols and stop being scared of ourselves. Stop being fearful altogether. But especially stop being scared of ourselves and our ancestors' representation of ourselves from an energetic standpoint. The Baphomet symbolizes the union of opposites. This is a very important symbol relative to our returning back from a dualistic state into a whole state. As represented in the image, actually below, not above, I'll change that, drawn by Black magic practitioner. That word should not frighten you. Black magic shouldn't frighten you, because the phrase that is popular right now, and primarily because of the Black Panther movie and other such things in the popular culture, we're hearing the term black girl magic. And this is just an indication, a manifestation an indication rather, the manifestation of the divine feminine coming back into what? Coming back into balance. In an age, the dominion of light, where the patriarchal image was what? In supremacy. As represented in the image below, drawn by black magic practitioner Eliphas Levi, whose name is on the bottom. There is the image of the light moon. I want everyone to write down the word moon, and the dark moon. Very important. Now, let me ask you all a question. What does the moon affect on the earth? What element on the earth of the four major elements, which element does the moon affect?
Water.
All right. All right. So next,
It affects water.
that's correct. Next to moon, write down the word water.
Still not working.
Someone has their mic open. Could you please?
Yes, it's still not working.
So next to the word moon, write down the equal sign, and then put water. Very important. In Hebrew, there are a few words that refer to the word moon. One is the word sin, S-I-N. Write that down. The other word is Sinai, as in Mount Sinai or Mount Sinai, as most of us say it. And the other word is Jericho or Yericho. All right? So write that down. Sin, Sinai, and Jericho. Very important. The positioning of its hands is also in opposite directions, representing the motto, as above, so below. All these sayings and symbols point to what is known as the secret doctrine. Now, again, we have been exposed to what? History or his story. And we have not been exposed, we're being exposed now to the mystery, that which is concealed. Darkness, like we see up here, is related to the concealment or the secret doctrine. All of the doctrines that each of us have learned while we've been here have been the doctrines, various doctrines of light under the influence or the dominion of the age of light. This is referring to the secret doctrine, which is the union of the gods, that is the divine Christ aspect, with humanity, that is the human aspect. Now, Nasik just read that during the real Renaissance, the emphasis was drawn away from the divine, that which our ancestors had emphasized, and was put on what? Humanism and a humanistic doctrine and teaching. Why? To lock us into, or to, I should say, to further lock us into the material world, the physical world, or what we refer to as the simulated reality. These signs and symbols, like the Baphomet, are designed to stimulate the divine within us. This is a teaching in and of itself. And it, like all images, like all of our symbols, is designed to do what? Uh, Activate the energy, the energetic signature that it represents within us. But many of us, because of being under the dominion of light and not understanding the mystery aspect of our history, not understanding our true history, we wouldn't even look at this. We would say, "Ooh, that's the devil. Why is Eitai putting up demonic signs? That's a demon." When it truly and accurately represents us in our divinity, in true balance. The origin of the name Baphomet is not clear. It appears to be a combination of two Greek words, Bapha and Metas. Bapha and Metas, meaning the absorption of knowledge. And that is exactly what I said, that once we have the proper understanding of this symbol, the symbols in this will aid in what? Our absorption of knowledge. It is called the goat of Mendes or the black goat. The goat also has to do with fertility. And that fertility, we're going to see later, the aspect of fertility is going to connect us to the green man, another symbol, and is symbolic of the magnum opus, the great work of alchemy. Magnum opus means great work of alchemy. When one's energies from Kundalini increase, that should be all of our goals, to increase this Kundalini or serpent energy that lies at the base of our spine. To what? Activate the chakras that are above the waist or above the root chakra. Spiritual alchemy is one of ancient is of ancient Egypt, and is the transformation of the human soul into the Godhead. So the Renaissance and the Age of Light wanted to its goal was to keep us what? Locked into humanity, into humanistic thoughts, into identifying more with our human aspect than our divine aspect, thus keeping us in imbalance and indefinitely locked into the simulated reality, and thus locked into deception. The serpent represents the manifested serpent power as the shining star, sun, celebrity of the ancients. Celebrity is not what we think it is. It is a solemn rite or a ceremony. We talk in terms as we teach of rituals and ceremonies. Again, we're not accustomed to or knowledgeable of our true history. So we don't understand the power of symbols, the power of images, and the power of rites and ceremonies. A celebrity is not what we understand it to be in the popular culture. It means a condition of being famous or celebrated, and the only true celebrities on the planet that ever existed were our ancient forefathers. They were godlike down here. They were like superheroes. So again, the monomyth is based, and the hero's journey is based on what? The true history of our ancient ancestors. And the Lord said unto Moses, make thee a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, and bitten by the poisonous snakes, when he look upon it, he shall live. So again, these symbols, although they've been vilified, they've been demonized, they have life in them, not to children of light, but to children of darkness, which we are. There were giants in the earth in those days. These are again talking about these ancient celebrities that they refer to as giants or Nephilim. Nephilim is related to the fall. All right, it means to fall. Nasi said when we went into the lexicon that word giant, nephal, that it was mistranslated, that it was referring to negatively to a bully or a tyrant or some horrific character, but they said that might be a mistake, and they know it's a mistake. It means hero, hero. These were our ancient ancestors. They were the archetype for every hero that was written about, sung about thereafter. It is based on those ancient celebrities. They were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were old, men of renown, famous individuals, celebrities. The word renown in this case is the word shem or shame. Shem or shame. Again, tying it back into the eldest son of Shem and tying it back into darkness. Uh, Renown is defined as a state of being widely acclaimed and highly honored. Famous. Shem or shame, on the other hand, translated as renown through the idea of definite and conspicuous position, an appellation as mark or memorial of individuality, implication, honor, authority, character, famous, named, renowned, report. And this named aspect is where we get the translation Hashem being the name and designation of God. That is Yod He Vav He, which again ties this thing back into the overall prophetic framework. Yud, fire, He, water, Vav, air, He, earth. And this process of what? Divine emanation into the material realms. The framework is consistent. We just have to get ourselves, we have to lose our attachment to the old way that we learned under what? The dominion of light. And familiarize ourselves with our actual history, which was hidden or concealed in darkness. It only makes sense. Like causes always produce like effects. If we are from the darkness, that means our identity is in the darkness, not in the light. So again, this name Hashem, which connects it to the tetragrammaton, Yud He Vav He. Also, this word Shem is the root word to the word Shemesh. Shemesh, which is the word used for the sun, for sunrise and sunset, which is going to, from a historical standpoint, when we trace the history of our people, the history of our people goes not from west to east. It travels the route of the sun from east to west, from east to west. And that is when the final battle is going to be fought. That is where, rather, the final battle is going to be fought. That is where the final chapter is going to be written. And again, this word Shemesh connects to the word Shimshon, all right, and the word Shem, Shimshon, which means sunlight, solar, or like the sun. And we know that Shimshon was an individual that, like our ancient ancestors, were able to manifest that serpent power and become renowned as a result of him being what? His ability, rather, to manifest that dark energy, dark matter power, that neuromelanin power that Ben Ami talks about needs to be activated where? In the brain, in the internal organs. Again, adding an expansion on the another proof that the final judgment is going to be in the West. Shimshon, again, like all Shemites, are going to be involved in the final judgment. He was a son of Manoah. Manoah means a state or condition of rest. Nasik talked about it. We're going to connect this all now to the Shabbat rest. To the Shabbat rest. Why? Because this is what our ancestors left us. This is our trail back. He was a Nazarite or a Nazirene for life, and a judge in Israel for 20 years. Well, why do they put that in there? Because they want us further to connect it with the 20th tarot card, which is the judgment card. And you'll see that the judgment card is giving us another hint with this square in the middle that is what? Divided by the cross or the X or the Tav into four distinct regions, four corners or 4 quarters. Write the word 4 quarters down. Next to the word 4 quarters, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 individuals, 6 that are below, and the one above, you see 7 individuals represented. Next to the word 4 quarters, write down the word 7. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse's heels, so that the rider, what? Nephal, falls backwards. Nephal, connecting it with what? These giants, these individuals that could what? Manifest the power and became famous celebrities, ancient celebrities because of it. This is the true archetype and template of our true history that I'm walking you through now. And when the sun was going down, I'm going to say that again. When the sun was
Come
going
on,
down,
sir.
is somebody asking a question or want to make a comment? Now, where does the sun set? Where does it rest? In the west. A deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of what? Not great light, of great darkness fell upon him. It's putting us in the prophetic time frame of darkness in the west when the sun sets, the time that we go to sleep. And when we go to sleep, melanin, dark energy, dark matter is activated.
Yes.
Consistent with the theme of our history. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. Now, see, already took us back to what? 1619, beginning of the captivity. 400 years would put it where? 2019. We don't have to wait on. We are right here, right now, doing precisely what we're supposed to be doing, talking about exactly what our forefathers anticipated. We are on time.
Yep.
And also that nation whom they shall serve in the west will I judge, and afterward they will come out with great possession, great material wealth. So the waters came first, and we know why. So in Genesis 6, it talks about this. The plan, the prescient plan to bring waters on the earth. And we all know the story of Noah's Ark. That Noah, and by extension Shem entered into the ark. And after the waters receded, the general time frame that would remain consistent was reinstituted. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. That is the reestablishment of what? The organic reality. But it is not going to be determined by light or our understanding of light from that dominion, because that is deceptive. Moving on. Then this covenant was established. All right? This covenant, Genesis 9:12 through 17. We won't read through it. Waters came first, but it will be fire next time. And we read from 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and Nasik started us off in 2 Peter, the 8th verse, talking about that we should not be ignorant of this one thing, that one day or yom is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one yom. Now, when we understood this day and night process, evening and morning process, under the dominion of light, we did not have a proper understanding of that because we counted yoms as days. We made that equal. But these yoms we're going to see are very different. And we have not understand it. We have to get into these yugas, the 4 different yugas. And this is what this X and these 4 different squares represent. These cycles of yugas within what? The earth realm. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of its roots. Now, again, it's not talking about all of the branches. It's talking about one branch that would what? Bring forth a particular type of energetic signature that would be manifested in Shemitic energetic individuals. I'll say that again. It's not talking about all of the branches. We're focusing on Shem. It is talking about, let me ask everybody on the call, did you originate in the West? I'm talking about from your birthplace, from where you emanated into.
Okay.
Most of us, if not all of us, emanated into the Western Hemisphere, the Western quadrant.
Right.
That we were born, no matter where we moved to, that we were born on the other side of the world, where the sun sets, right?
Okay.
So this branch indicates not a race of people, not a tribe of people so much, but the energetic signature that these people would manifest. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon them, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord, and shall make them of quick understanding. Why? You would have to be quick because you're going to bring this thing to a close. The scripture said the time would be shortened, that a short work would be done, that the transition would be what? In the twinkling of an eye. So we're on time. We don't have to be in a hurry, but we better be quick. We don't have to be in a hurry, but we better be quick. And they shall not judge after the sight of their eyes, neither reprove by the hearing of their ears. Their ears. How could you? If you're of quick understanding and recognize that all of this is an illusion. You can't judge by your lying eyes or your deceptive ears. You would have to have what? Activated this intuition, activated this inner wisdom and inner standing and might, power, and knowledge that is within you, so that you could even recognize the truth when it's being spoken to you or when it's being put before you. But with righteousness shall they judge the poor, reprove with equity the meek of the earth. And he or they, the seed of the woman, shall smite the earth. This is why we got to be quick. Why? Because we will be the ones that we always move first. And so the judgment is going to come through us and is coming through us. How? That rod that is coming out of our mouths through these teachings that are causing this simulated reality to what? Lose integrity. They shall smite the earth with the rod of their mouth, and with the breath of their lips shall slay the wicked. Now, a lot of, it's a lot of people now that even when this truth is being put on display before them, are still going to they are still going to speak the same words that they've learned what? Under the dominion of light, under the dominion of deception. And they're going to still vibrate on that frequency. But it's losing integrity.
Right.
It's losing integrity. So if that frequency is losing integrity, likewise, if you remain vibrating on that, you're going to be losing integrity as well. And it's going to be manifest. It's going to be manifest in everything that you produce. Won't have no integrity.
Right.
Won't have no strength. The vibrational frequency of this planet is being increased. And we must align and calibrate our vibration to that vibration. That is going to require and necessitate everyone to leave behind, to first of all, identify that we've been deceived and to leave that information behind and move on to this other vibrational frequency. And a branch shall grow out of his roots. The branch, again, is the word natsir, which connects it back to the Natsarim, Shimshon, which connects it back to Shemesh, the sun, Hashem, the name, Shem, so forth and so on, as we've explicated already. In the sense of greenness, all right? So we went to the green man now, and we talked about Osiris as being, and his nickname being the foremost of the Westerners. and that he was a representation of mankind migrating through the cycles of consciousness. Well, it goes all the way back, family, to this emanation process, It's all consistent. And again, different characters, different allegories, but the same story. He also represents the sun and that energy that enables consciousness to express itself as manifestation in the physical or the earth realm. It is through the portal of the solar plexus, again, relating it to the sun, the fire, not the moon, not water, the lion's gate, the lion and the tiger being representations of the sun, both the lion and the tiger being representations of the sun, and our true heart center, that we traverse the dimensions from spirit to matter, from unity consciousness to individuated consciousness, and back again. Our understanding of these symbols, the action of these symbols, what? Igniting these energies in us will enable us to what? Move from duality to wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody see that? This is
Yes,
Okay.
the
sir.
hero's journey that is likened to the path of the sun, not the moon, family. The path of the sun, not the moon. Not sin, not Sinai, not Jericho. The walls of Jericho must come down. That is what's locking you into the simulated reality.
Come on.
Yeah.
Now, I want to show us another symbol. I showed us Hanuman, which in the movie Black Panther, the brother here, I forget his name, but they were related to the ape gods, the individuals that came in to first challenge T'Challa. You know, woo, 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 woo. Those individuals, them big brothers. They were related to the
Right.
Hindu god Hanuman. They even said it. And Hanuman is going, this monkey image is going to connect the Shemitic people clearly in the Americas. And the thing is, like we said yesterday, that we have not considered and reassessed world geography when we try to what? Assess our history from a localized standpoint, from a geographic standpoint. You all with me?
Yeah.
And what we fail
Mm-hmm.
to do is reassess world geography. We don't have an understanding of the Tetra Yuga, one of these four phases of the cycle of the Yom or the Yomim or the Yomot based on astronomy and continental drift. And so we accepted this theme under the dominion of light out of Africa. But we fail to realize there was a time where there was no such thing called a continent of Africa that we could what? Come out of. Don't go back far enough, Nasi.
I'm clear.
And
I'm clear.
this is what the scripture says, my people do not consider.
Right.
But we're going to consider. It's time to consider now. So the Monkey King, I'm sorry, this monkey story connects the, it says here that they concluded that it connects this monkey mythology to your own red, copper colored Indians. Well, those are those individuals now, see, with that Shemitic energy that came across first and beat everybody else to the Americas first.
Right.
They
Right.
crossed over. They had that
Right.
Eber or Hebrew energy that is
Right.
always manifested in what? Crossing over the water. We got to get beyond the water. And if we
Yeah.
go east to
Right.
west, if we go east to west, we are waiting on what? The fire, the sun to come. Because just as sure as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, that fire is going to come. But we got to get over the water. We got
Gotta get
to
over the
cross
water.
over the water. We got to make that transition from what? The simulated reality to the organic reality, which always
Mm-hmm.
begins with the sun, always begins with fire. So, another character that
It's
is,
clear.
go ahead, Nasi.
No, no, I said that's clear. That's clear.
Another character that is associated with the monkey character is the character, listen to his name, Sun Wu Kong. Sun Wu Kong. Everybody familiar with the tale of King Kong,
Right.
where
Mm-hmm.
he was a king in his world. He was brought from what? The east to the west, right? And there's
Mm-hmm.
when they had the battle, a reverse ritual.
Mm-hmm.
They did not allow him to win. This is related to another ancient character that is related to those monkey or ape individuals that designated Hanuman as being their god. And this is Sun Wukong. And we see him, and what does he have? The staff in his hands, like Moses, right? And
Yeah.
he's riding on a cloud. Listen, y'all, behold, he cometh with the clouds, riding on the clouds of heaven. And he's looking toward where? The west or the east?
To the west. To the west.
To the
Right.
west. He is always shown articulated to the west, riding on the clouds, heading to the west, heading to the west.
Right.
And his first name is Sun Wu Kong. And again, has the staff like Moses. And his story is entitled The Monkey King and His Journey to the West for Enlightenment. I'm going to read that again.
Ha, ha, ha.
The Monkey King
Ha, ha.
and his journey to the, well, I mean, where would you go for light? You would have to be
Right.
following
Right.
the sun. Here he is again, headed toward the
Right.
west, staff in his hand, crossing the water like Moses. So his power, and this is how our ancestors hid it, is in his hair. Now, what do we know about hair? What determines the color of hair? What determines the color of hair in animals and in humans?
The sun.
Now, what determines the color of hair in animals and in humans?
The genes or the
Melanin.
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 Melanin, dark
Ah,
matter, dark energy. So that's he can
Mm-hmm.
representing melanin. Listen to his
light
powers and ability.
recess.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying the lighter the hair, that's the recessive gene.
That's
The darker
correct.
the hair, the more melanin.
That's
Eyes,
correct.
hair, those.
And you all are going to see him. Uh, you know, look at how now they're going to give him yellow hair, make him into a white man. You know, with the blonde hair. This is a reverse with the
first
yellow
ritual.
hair. This is a reverse ritual. A reverse ritual. But when you look at when you read his about his powers and abilities, the Monkey King is a powerful immortal, capable of wreaking havoc in heaven. This is where we need this energy, Nasik, because there's a war
Yeah, yeah.
what? In heaven. And we need to connect with this energy in order to win this battle that is going on within all of us and fighting
Yeah.
off its most powerful generals without breaking a sweat. His very presence can cause terror in even dragons should he wish it. He can grow to the size of the mountain or to the size of a mountain or shrink to the size of a tuft of hair
Mm.
Wow.
shape and
Wow.
shape change to become anything from a fish to a full complex temple. What is the temple of God? It's our bodies.
It's our bodies, yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
You can tell by scent if a being is mystical by nature or not.
Wow.
He don't
Mm.
judge by the sight of his eyes or the hearing of his ears and can see
Wow.
clearly 300 miles away. After his time in the 8 trigrams furnace,
Wow.
after his time in the 8 trigrams furnace, he is virtually immune to any form of heat or flame. And
Wow.
his time studying to be an immortal has rendered his flesh nearly impervious to even heavenly or demonic weapons. No weapon formed against thee shall prosper. But if you don't have no power, that's just something your mouth is saying.
Right.
And that's
Right.
why Negroes is getting put in choke holes and shot full of holes all day, all night.
Yes. Yes.
Because we've been tapping
Yes.
into the
Yes.
wrong
Yes. It's clear now.
we've been tapping into
Yes.
the wrong energy.
Yes.
Always.
It's yes.
Now y'all see what
Yes.
this movie
So
Black Panther
Itai.
has brought forth? Go ahead,
Yes.
brother.
Itai.
Yes, sir.
It's Malkiel. I'm not on my computer, I'm on the phone. Look, so now the all these black shootings has a whole nother meaning now.
Yes, yes, it does.
Because now what you just brought gives clarity to those black shootings.
Put on your armor.
Those black shootings,
Right.
yes. Yes.
Now, see,
Those. Those.
yeah, they not worried about us marching or protesting or
Right.
going to the
Right.
appealing to the government.
Hmm.
Y'all better tap into that energy of Killmonger
Yes.
because this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Confrontation is already on, huh?
That
Yep.
they've been at war with us. We trying to negotiate.
You're right. Wow. Hmm.
Listen, his strength is unheard of, and agility and skill almost completely unmatched. He can cover 3,600 miles in a single somersault, or somersault to heaven and back again. Isn't that what we trying to do?
Whoa.
Man.
Isn't that
What?
what we trying to do? We
Yeah.
Absolutely.
somersaulted,
That's
we
real.
somersaulted and fell into the material realms. We got to tap into this energy to do what? Somersault back again. It's just like that.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
He can survive.
Eitai,
Come on, E.
He can survive
Eitai,
500. Go ahead.
just checking again. What was his name again?
Sun Wukong,
Sun Wukong. Okay.
Monkey King. But now, see, this is the
Uh,
full journey. When you read his story, it's our story and it's our history. Now, he had a little knowledge, right?
right.
So he got a little knowledge and a little ability gained under what? The dominion of light. So he
Wow.
gonna carry himself up to heaven and show them primordial beings what he knew. You know what job they gave him? Shoveling horse manure in the stable. Now, see, he didn't have no knowledge.
Wow.
He didn't have no knowledge, so he had to do
Right.
journey to the west to be enlightened.
Right. Right.
This is how he activated his powers. We're facing the wrong way. A
Wow.
reverse ritual
Hmm.
was done on us. The ancestors
That's a
are telling us all over it's not in the east. It's not in the east. When our
wow.
ancestors appeared to Carl Jung, I'm going to show y'all this later, not now. The one statement that they made is that we have just come back from Jerusalem and found not what we sought. So we're back here in the West, indicating that this is where this thing is going to be initiated.
Okay.
If it don't fit the
Hmm.
framework, if it don't fit the framework, then you have an argument. Or you have
Yeah.
if you have some more knowledge that our ancestors left us in ancient documents that show us that we're supposed to be moving in another direction, show me. And then we'll consider it. Other than that, it's just your opinion.
Hmm.
Wow.
Hmm.
Now you can see now where along this path,
Yes.
many
Come on.
stop walking with you because they just cannot believe that the reverse ritual has been played on them. They can't accept it.
Right.
Cognitive
Right.
dissonance. Now, see, cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance. That's it.
And
Yes.
the scripture said they will what? Love the lie more than
Right.
Yeah.
love the truth.
Right.
Wow.
And again,
Wow.
cling to deception.
Wow.
Cling to deception.
Okay.
He can cover 3,600 miles in a single somersault or somersault to heaven and back again. He can survive 500 years or longer. Listen, y'all, without food or drink.
Mm.
besides the thoroughly unpleasant and definitely not nutritious iron pellets and molten copper. And again, this is talking about melanin because
Yeah,
we're going to see that these monkeys were called your own what? Red or copper colored Indians. It just fits Nasi too perfectly along too broad of a historic spectrum not to be the truth. But
absolutely
Right.
right.
we haven't
Right.
known where or how to look for it, and because of deception, we felt comfortable and that we didn't need to look elsewhere.
Okay.
There was no necessity. He is sneaky. Now, that is the what? Subtle serpent,
That's the subtle serpent.
crafty, crafty. That is not evil, but it is a characteristic of that energy
Mm-hmm.
that you must be craft. Now, let me ask y'all a question. Was Killmonger crafty?
Yes, he was.
See, but under the dominion of light, we see that
Right,
as negative.
right,
Mm-hmm.
Every time we read
Right.
about the subtle serpent, we interpreted that as what? Negative.
yeah, right. Dominion of light, boy.
Right. He is
It
sneaky.
just makes sense, Eitai,
Right.
that it would have to be light to bring deception. Darkness wouldn't bring deception. It would
That's
be what?
correct.
Light would have to what? Bring deception. That's the
That's
only way
correct.
deception could come. Light. Light is what
Yeah.
gives intelligence.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
hey, now see,
It's perfect.
we're seeing with this technology that they can make light appear as anything that they wanted to appear as.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
He is sneaky and can manage to get out of nearly any circumstance. He is also virtually unmatched with his main weapon. Listen to what literally is called as you will. As a man think,
Wow.
as a man thinketh,
Wow.
so is
Wow.
he.
That's his
Wow.
main weapon.
And that
Wow.
was Moses' main weapon. When he went to first negotiate with Pharaoh, what do you have in your hand? Cast it to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And it became what?
A serpent.
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 Not a lion, not an eagle,
Right.
not something that we feel comfortable with, but with a serpent. It became a serpent. That is indicative of that Kundalini power and energy that must be activated. But if our mindset is on it stayed on the dominion of what? Light, we'll never activate it. And that's the plan. Because like you said, Nasi, we will always be in conflict with ourselves and in conflict with
Right.
things that are designed to what? Cause us to ascend.
See.
Yeah.
We'll always be in conflict with it. So moving on, it's moving it toward the west. Moving it toward the west. All right. As we close very quickly, how's everybody doing? We doing all right?
Okay.
Dang.
Y'all got about another half hour in you?
Peter.
Absolutely.
All right. Because we want to finish this up. So we talked about this root and this branch of Jesse, right? And we're going to do an etymological search now of this. This is going to get us to our history and a proper understanding as well of this energy. And Nasik is also going to expose further this simulated reality.
Excellent.
So we must consider, in order to understand our roots, we have to consider the energetic roots of Yishai or Jesse. And it's going to be accomplished by looking at these words that contain Yud and Shin. These are the breadcrumbs that our ancestors led us, that they laid down and left for us, these little hints that if we follow them, will lead us back and we'll be able to identify ourselves. So we're going to follow these words through the scriptural narrative and the characters that they represent. These words that form the root of Yeshai, Yehoshua, Moshe, Yeshua, so forth and so on. The tree of life, the Kabbalistic tree of life, which is shown here in the middle, has two sides. The one side begins with the Yud and moves to the Shin. All right? It begins with the Yud at the top and it moves to the Shin. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Those are the two letters Yud Shin, or the word Yesh. On the other side of the tree, it moves from the Yud to the Mem. The Yud to the Mem. And so what we see, the Mem representing what? Water.
Yeah.
And the Shin representing fire. When we move from the Mem to the Shin, we have the basis of the word Mesh or Mosh or Moshe or Moses. That is going from where? From the west to the east.
Good.
Are y'all with me?
Yeah.
If we start at the Shin, moving from the east to the west, we get what word? We done already covered it. We get the
Shem.
word Shem.
Yeah.
This is the graph that our ancestors left for you. How can you get it wrong, Nasi? You can't get it wrong. This stuff is so easy once you understand it. A child can you can teach a child this.
Yeah.
But if you come in what with preconceived notions that you think are true or assume that are true, you're never gonna get this. But have I told you all anything that is complex? Have I lost anyone? Yeah.
Nope.
It's so simple,
Uh,
a child can understand it.
Dang.
You can only get it wrong if you want to get it wrong. The energy that is Sheen Mem moves not from west to east. You still under Moshe. You still under them laws and that covenant. But the new covenant
wow.
always moves from left to right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
This is expressed like this. This expresses how, Nasi, we manifested into the from the
Simulated ground.
unmanifested realms to the manifested realms.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in a reversal. We moved from nothingness, or we moved from nothingness not to the maternal and then to the material, to the dualistic world. No, what we did was we moved from nothingness to the paternal. How can a father give birth to anything in and of himself?
He
So
can.
we move now, see, under the dominion of light, right,
Right.
into the dualistic realm.
Yeah.
So now we're in the dualistic realm. Are we going to move back toward the east, toward the paternal imbalance, or are we going to move back to through the feminine energy to the
Right.
west,
Right. Right.
and then back to?
Right.
It's simple, y'all.
Wow.
So it's actually we're supposed to be moving back to the maternal, back to the feminine energy. It's just that simple. From the divine perspective, or the perspective of the unfolded or whole, emanation took place from Mem to Yod. And we knew that that bypassed the fire and created the simulated reality from water to power to life and existence. This is why the divine script, or the divine scribe, stated that the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. On the other hand, from the standpoint of the unfolded or simulated or material realms, the reverse emanation process must, or the return must occur from Yesh, that is fire, Yud to Shin, Yud to Shin, or from life, from power, rather, life existence, to fire. This is why the divine script or scribe stated that God is a consuming fire. And later, the heavens and the earth, that is, all life, are now kept in store, reserved unto fire, not water. And all things shall be what? Dissolved or reduced back to their most elemental form, to their most primary form. Our beloved ancestors, the divine scribes, brilliantly encoded the divine script according to this divine framework and foresaw the day when a branch or a remnant would who would energetically or intuitively possess the inner wisdom that would allow them to both see and articulate this knowledge within the said framework. The purpose of being, uh, the purpose being, rather, to bring about the destruction of the wicked. In other words, by articulating this knowledge from within the framework, we slay the wicked. How? With the rod of our mouths. Yesh equals Jesse or Yishai. Again, following this Yud to Shin direction, it means I possess. Yesh, the root word being Yash, meaning being, existence, or substance. Yet the scripture says, I will overturn it, Malkiel, and it shall be what? No more until he come whose right it is. And what that says, that's actually a mistranslation. It doesn't mean whose right it is. It means who is going to judge. Mishpat. The ones that are going to be what? Energetically disposed and possessed of that energy to what? Bring this thing to a close. It's not everybody. Only the he goats go before the flock, and then afterwards the flock follows.
Right,
So,
right.
so you got to determine whether you a goat or a sheep,
No.
and I will give it to him.
Yeah, exactly.
What? What did Nazar say? What did
I'm a
Nazar
goat.
say?
Yeah, I hear you.
The scepter. Now the scepter is the rod. All right. Shall not depart from Judah. The scepter. Now that's the rod. Shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall be what? The gathering of the people. Shiloh, H7886, means he whose possession it is. And family, you either possess it or you don't. You either want to possess it or you don't. You either want to activate this power or you just want to talk about it, or you just want to argue about it, or you want to debate about it or give an opinion about it. It's time out for that. We are in the Asaya realm, and the Asaya realm is the realm of action. And we are at that point where talk ends and talking about it ends and being about it begins. Are you all with me?
Yeah,
And you're good. And if you can manifest this energy, you ain't gonna have to talk about it. You'll be demonstrating it. And individuals, just like they demonstrate that other individuals designated our ancestors that went first as what? Gods and deities and celebrities. It's not gonna have to come out your mouth. People will identify. You will know yourself, but you ain't gonna have to say it because you're not gonna be talking about it. You're going to be being about it and manifesting, demonstrating this energy. This is what this class is all about. So this word Shiloh also means tranquility or rest. Y'all with me? So it's going to
yeah,
connect us to the word shalom or wholeness. And just as importantly,
yeah,
Shabbat rest. It's giving us how this fits
yeah,
into the prophetic framework. The root word is shalah, meaning to be tranquil, to be at rest, to prosper, to be quiet, to be at ease. Here we go. The Ark of the Covenant was kept where? At Shiloh. Connecting it with the Ark. The Ark of the Covenant was kept at Shiloh. The Ark of the Covenant was created first. It was created first. Noah,
Right. Right.
Noah,
Right.
and by extension, Shem, the firstborn, went into the ark to what? To save them from the waters. See, you gotta understand. You gotta want to be saved from the waters because the waters,
Right.
I see, created what? The flaw.
Right. 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 Dominion of water, the dominion of light. You don't want to be a part of that.
Do y'all know what happens when light comes through water? What does it create? Separation, a prism with an M or
Yeah.
a prison with an N. So if you want to be free,
Wow.
you,
Right.
if water comes through one way as light, and then, or I'm sorry, if light goes through water one way and it becomes what? Separated and goes back, returns the other way, is it going to be whole or is it still going to be separated
No.
by virtue of going through the water?
Separate. Yeah.
It's going to remain separated. This is our divine science. Moshe, remember, Mem to what? Sheen, Mem to Sheen, Moshe was put into an ark, then put into the water, correct?
Yeah.
Hoshua, now here this is Yud to Sheen, Yud to Sheen, right? The successor of Moses commanded the leading priest to do what? Carry the ark a full 7 times, not 6, y'all. I'm gonna let that marinate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna let that marinate for a while.
They did not rest from carrying the ark.
We getting ready. We getting ready to break this thing down. They carried the ark. They were commanded to carry the ark. What? Not 6 times and rest on the 7th time, but a full 7 times around what? The walls of Jericho.
Right. Right.
Now remember, I asked you to write
Wow.
down the number 4 and the number 7, correct? And I told you that
Hey, yes.
in the tarot card that we showed that had to do with judgment, that they showed this square with what? 4 quarters or 4/4 indicated. And that is connected to the number 20. The number 20 is balance. Look, the 2 X's, balanced. See, we've been imbalanced under what? The dominion of
Yeah.
light and the dominion of deception.
Right. Right.
So they were instructed or commanded to carry the ark around the walls of Jericho a full 7 times. That is the square or 4 quarters. Jericho means moon. Look it up. It represents the 4 quarters of the moon cycle. It had to come to an end, now see. This dominion,
Yeah. Yeah.
of the moon, or the dominion of sin, or the covenant of Sinai.
Right.
The covenant of Sinai was the
Right.
covenant that our forefathers wrote the
Right.
bondwoman was under.
Right.
So that
Wow.
covenant had to be removed.
Right.
And it was the
Wow.
dominion of the moon and the cycles of the moon. The moon affects water. The leading priest carried the ark as they led the people across the Jordan River, that's water, into the promised land. And they put 12 stones in the Jordan River as a memorial of the path that the priest walked. We are the Skywalkers. We also are the water walkers. We are the ones that what? Transverse across the water. But the water never touches us.
Right. Yeah.
Always come across on dry land. We've always, family, been protected from the water and from the influences of the water. That's why we here now.
Okay.
Because we are not showing the effects energetically of the flaw. It's just that simple. See, we have never considered, Nasi, why 7 days? We've never considered it.
Yeah.
It's just been the tradition that was handed
It's
to
been
us,
a tradition.
and we never examined what we were holding. But it's time out for
No,
that.
that's
Oh man, this is something. Oh,
Okay.
Hey,
oh,
but
can I
that's the way it's supposed to hit you. That's the way it's supposed to hit
Yes, yes, just
you.
like that.
A lot of us stay home.
Yes.
can I say something?
Yes, you.
Yeah.
When I say I've been led here, you're talking about I'm calling them visions now. The visions that I've had while I was at rest that have come to me. So many things about water. You just burst a dam that didn't touch me. Water I had about before I went home. I mean, this was years ago when my children were still young. They're all grown now. But the dream that I had, or the vision that I had, was I would make it home, but I went up the longest escalator that you ever did. I was in the military at the time, so I was in uniform. Whatever was going on in this world, that is what was in the vision. But I made it home, and it was just like that when I got home, because I looked up at the sky. It was like cottages all around. Everything was beautiful. The sky was blue. The whole time I was home, the sky was pure blue. And the green trees against that. So blue and green, I adopted that color. But the water, it was like I was in a building, and they'd tell me that the water, it was a flood outside. But me and my children were saved from that. And I was with them. They were small then, and I took them with me. I'm in uniform, but so I must have been gone against some rules, but which I did. And we were saved. And every time it got to a certain level, we were 10 floors above that.
Wow.
Until I went up to the rooftop, and that's where I was home. You know, and I said, oh, here it is. And they have a cottage for me lined with beautiful flowers. So that was one dream. Then the other one I had when there was really flooding around, I was living in the senior building. And I was on the first floor, but it was above, and it was the strongest corner of that building when they had the earthquake, they found out. That's where I was, and that's the apartment that I chose. But there was water, and I looked out the window, and the thing is, I was not fearful in seeing this. So it never came into where I was.
Wow.
And I mean, it's all about water. And she says it, and those things are coming back every time you said it. So I was just screaming, and then I turned my mic on because I said, I have to tell you this. I've been led here
Look,
for now. And it's
that's what we
okay.
want.
We'll give it
Confirmation, I see. Confirmation.
Yeah.
That is testimony.
Hey, Nazar. Nazar.
Hey,
Did we talk about
Hey.
all this? Did we
absolutely.
talk about all this, brother?
Absolutely.
All right, moving on.
Wow.
So the question, we were handed this tradition of the 7 days, and we really didn't, we really have not examined this. The 7 days of the week, family, are named after 7 classical planets, deities, or heavenly bodies. Now, let me ask you all, these deities, these heavenly bodies, who is that talking about? Is that talking about something that's up in the sky?
No.
Absolutely not.
No, no.
7 chakras of the body.
It's talking about something that you have inside you.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not activated, Malkiel, then you are going to remain under whatever dominion that is what? Has been in ascendancy.
Right.
Absolutely correct. So if we are still identifying ourselves as mere humans that were created, by all means, you better, whatever the dominion says for you to do, you better do, because you don't have no power to do no otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So if you powerless and a cop comes up to you and says, nigga, get on the ground, well, you better jump.
Right.
But when we come into our full power, we'll be able to say, nah, you get on the ground. See, it's hard for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for us to relate to that because that fear of authority is in us.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I want. If you know, hey, look, Black Lives Matter and what they let one of us that is activated get confronted by a racist cop and put that on YouTube, put that on social media, put that on Twitter.
Right. Right. Snapchat.
You ain't gonna need no Black Lives Matter. You're not gonna need nobody marching and protesting.
Absolutely.
Are y'all hearing what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We are these heavenly bodies. We are for signs and seasons. Correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
We are the titans. We are connected to the energy chronos, which what? Invented time.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Right. Right.
Man. Come on, Eitai.
Come on now. The false sequence, family, the false sequence of the 7 days, we know always began with what? Water. Why? Monday, moon day, to keep us under that false dominion, the dominion of light. See, this is how they, this is how they manipulate this reality.
Yeah, that's the ritual. That's it.
See, it's all mental. It's all so if they can tap into our consciousness, it ain't nothing like something out there has changed in time.
Right, right.
They got the power over us mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And they just change, they just make a few changes, look for our reaction, and we say, what? Wow. It used to say the lion will lay down with the lamb. Now it say the wolf lay down with the lamb.
Right, right, right.
They ain't go back there and change all the Bibles. They manipulated what? Our perception of reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. It's an illusion, y'all. It's an illusion. It's changeable.
Yes.
And now see, if that's all they can do is make us think Mandela died in jail, or make us think the Bible
Right.
said this, or the Kit Kat candy, if that's all they can do. All this
There
time in Dominion.
ain't no win for them then.
Now,
You
see,
know?
it ain't even worth talking about.
Right.
It ain't even worth talking about and doing no video if that's all they can do.
Right.
Y'all with me?
Game.
We are the gods of this planet, but not in
Mm-hmm.
the form that we're in, and not under a false dominion. So the good thing about the kingdom is that they did put things in the correct sequence.
Yes.
Sunday is the head, is Rishon. It is the head. But let me show y'all something. Sunday is the head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rishon is the head. I'm gonna show y'all how we all manifest in here. This is how we all manifest in here. Y'all see the figure to the right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yud corresponds to what? Fire, right? Y'all
Mm-hmm.
see the body, right? Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey.
Mm-hmm.
The Yud representing
Right.
the head, the Hey representing the shoulders and the arms, the Vav, the connector, representing the torso, the other Hey representing what? The hips or the pelvis and the legs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
y'all emanated in through the water, you came in without your head. This is why you can't remember now. This is why you lose your memory of who you were. And in order to keep you headless, they didn't start at the head with the weekdays. They kept you in the water in that second stage without your head.
Very good therapy.
Are y'all with me?
Yeah.
They kept you headless. But we got to straighten this out now. See, we got to straighten this out. This is how we're healing ourselves. We ain't waiting for nobody to heal us. Sunday puts the head back on, starting at fire, then moves to water. Look, Sheen Mem, Sheen Mem. This is how we move from Sheen to Mem, from Sheen
Right.
to Mayim, water.
Right.
And you mean to tell me that we put this together and we gonna end the process at Friday? We not gonna complete the cycle?
Wow.
We gonna march 7 days
No.
around. We gonna march 6 times around Jericho and rest on the seventh one?
No.
We
Nah.
gotta take this thing to a higher level, y'all, to a higher vibratory level.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not telling nobody, a person, not to keep the Shabbat. I understand I understand. Allow your body to rest, fast. I understand the king, but y'all saying that cannot elevate to a higher level. Now, see, he already got the science on it.
Wow.
Eitai,
Yes, sir.
because if that other process was true, we wouldn't be where we're at.
That's correct.
See what I'm saying?
I see exactly what you're saying. So let's understand the full 7 times around the walls of Jericho. The division of the week into 7 days, listen, can be attributed to the Babylonian system. But I just read to you all, flee out of the midst of Babylon. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and be what? The he-goat before the flock. Be first in your understanding of what? Now, see, this is how progress is always made.
This is how it's made, right? That's how it's made.
Everybody don't move. Tell me when something like that happened. That it was a major movement where everybody moved at the same time.
Never.
But it was some individuals. It was some individuals that had the energetic makeup and the courage. That's level 200 to become neutral, become unattached to what was before, and move out there and begin to say and do and act differently.
That's it.
And they're always either laughed at, ridiculed, scorned, persecuted. Are y'all hearing me?
Yeah.
And then when it becomes the norm, they accept it back in. Oh, well, I guess you was right. But it's never accepted. It's never accepted. Individuals that are first in doing something, they always gonna get looked at cross-eyed and vilified.
Always. You know, Eitai, remind me to tell the family a story at the end of everything, okay?
Okay, I'm ending right now, see. I'm ending right now. I'm a little over. The division of the week into 7 days can be attributed to the Babylonian system. Relative to the path of the moon, not the path of the sun, the path of the moon, a week is about 1/4, or a quarter, 23.659% of the time from one moon to the next. So the moon goes through 4 phases. The Babylonians celebrated a holy day every 7 days. Y'all didn't hear me. Y'all didn't hear me. Y'all didn't hear me. The Babylonians they did what they did 1 through from the 1 to 6 days and stop to celebrate what? On the seventh day, every
On
seventh
the
day.
every seventh day, right?
Y'all didn't hear me.
Kalaya.
Y'all didn't hear that.
We
I
heard.
heard you saying that they should have been celebrating on the 8th day.
Ah,
Forget it.
who said that? I see who said that.
This was Shalomia.
Colombia.
See, this is what I'm saying. This knowledge is inside of all of us. Now, see,
I already read that.
at what age, according to the Hebrew tradition, is a child circumcised? On
Eighth day,
huh?
Today.
on the eighth day.
There you go. See, we know this. We know this. 8 is transitional. It's balanced. It is new beginning. Water the first time. The 8th day is going to be fire.
Yes.
To mark these 4 phases. So the 4 phases represent the 4 phases of the moon. So the walls around Jericho that had to come down represented the 4 phases of the moon, or the dominion of what? Sin, or the covenant of Sinai. Are y'all with me? That we had to
Yeah.
transition out of,
Had to transition out of.
counting from the night of the new moon. I'm sorry, the 4 phases of the moon are the new moon, the first quarter moon, the full moon, and the last quarter. And they last about a little less than 30 days. So even the 9 months of pregnancy, are not based on the solar month, they're based on the lunar month. A child from 1 to 7 is considered still a child. That's why the circumcision is on what? The new day, the 8th day.
Also, each time the circumcision takes place on the 8th day, because at that time, the vitamin K in the infant's body is at its peak to clot the blood and help the healing process.
Now, am I telling you?
Wow.
Look, see, we know all this now. See, we know all of this.
Wow.
This information
Yeah.
is inside all of us, and these are individuals. Look, now see, quick understanding. Quick
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we close out, if you can properly, correctly, and accurately discern and understand, that is, eat and digest, what is explicated, deciphered, or decoded above, then you are beginning to be aligned with and calibrated to a divine perception of the prophetic Shabbat rest, and you know exactly how to achieve it. So I'm going in there and say wholeness to everyone.